Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, where we talk about all news, comics, and media related to the Transformers. On this episode, we look at rare behind-the-scenes live-action footage from the original G1 cartoon. Lorenzo di Bonaventura teases the upcoming animated Transformers prequel, and we're jealous as Hong Kong gets an amazing Transformer-themed fast food restaurant. Today is Friday, April 28th, 2023, and this is episode 335 of Transmissions Alt Mode.
Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that wonders if the new Ark restaurant is franchising yet. I'm your host, Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team. Jeremy, aka Yakko.
Hey, how's it going?
And Daryl, the Cybertronian Beast.
How's it going? Let's talk Transformers.
We're not at the end of the show yet. You don't have to sign off yet.
All right.
As always, we start off the show by thanking our Donatreons, those lovely people who support us on Patreon and PayPal. Thank you all so much for continuing to help us out and keep the show going. We really appreciate it. If you are not a Donatron and would like to become one, just go to transmissionspodcast.com/support. And that's where you can sign up. In addition to all the bonus content, there's other perks. You get some merchandise. You get access to automatic entries into all our contests, including our monthly Toy Hacks drawing. So lots of good stuff that comes from being a Donatron. So why don't you sign up? Help us out. As I mentioned, some bonus content. We've got lots of episodes of our Transformers bonus show, We Like Big Bots. That's done by Daryl and Dr. Pants. They talk about all the big bots they've got in their collection. We've got 10 ginormous big episodes right now for you on our Patreon page. And more are coming very soon as we can get Dr. Pants back in the studio. So check those out. We Like Big Bots, all on our Patreon page. We'll have a link in the show notes. So if you are a Donatron, that link will take you to every episode. So enjoy. We've also got our latest episode of Empire of Rust, and this is the milestone, episode 100, part 1. So we've got Empire of Rust, episode 100, part 1. This was a triumph. And I'm told this is a Portal reference, so you should, if you have played Portal, you should be familiar with that. So this week we had episode 100 part 1. This is at transmissionspodcast.com/rust, where you can get all the episodes of Empire of Rust. And episode 100 part 2 is coming next week for Donatrons. So if you are a Donatron, you can get access to episode 100 part 2 already on our Patreon page this Monday. But if you are on the free feed, you'll have to wait another week until you'll get access to part 2. So enjoy this giant-sized episode 100, part 1 and part 2. It's a big one. It's a big milestone. A fan-favorite character returns. Lots of exciting stuff happening in Empire of Rust. So check it out. And lastly, we've got last week, I did a brand new Transmissions Extra. So we've been on hiatus for a long time, but we got an extra out last week just talking about the Super Mario Brothers movie. I was joined by the B+ team that includes Snazzy Mike, Apollo, and Dr. Pants, and Lambo as a special guest from Nerdstradamus. So that's Dr. Pan's other show, with him and Lambo. So they are big video game gurus. So we had to have them both on to talk about the Mario Brothers movie. So that's a fun episode. We go in depth. We do spoil the entire movie. So make sure you've seen the movie before you watch that episode. So it's both on our podcast feed, and you can watch it on YouTube. So enjoy. All right, now let's get into the show and talk about some Transformers media news.
All right, and we are going to start off the show by talking about Beast Wars. and how it is now, the complete series is now available on iTunes. And if that is how you like to watch your Beast Wars, then you can purchase the entire Volume 1 for $24.99, and that is all 26 episodes. And then you can go ahead and buy Volume 2 for $24.99, and that is Volume 2, or sorry, Season 2 and Season 3 all together in Volume 2. Was this what you were looking at before we started recording, Jeremy? On the
Yeah.
So what is the you want to just update people on the quality?
Well, it says they're offered in HD, and I just took a quick look on my phone, having watched lots of Beast Wars on my phone in the past, and it looks much, much better than anything I've ever seen. So however they did this upscaling, it looks really good. So I think if you have seen it, I think you'll be happy with it. If you haven't seen it, Daryl, it might be a good option for you to get into. Although I know it's on iTunes and you don't really play in that world.
No, that world doesn't like me. But no, I'm glad that it's starting to look better. Tell me, did the animation improve?
I mean, I just watched the 2-second or the 2-minute preview clip, and it looked really good to me. Of course, I'm a fan, so I'm willing to let a lot go, but
Kind of biased?
I did not see pixelation and stuff when I was watching this little clip.
Okay. Moving on. Earthspark, so the current show that is being produced, Season 1 DVD cover art has been produced, and we have a release date. So if you're looking for this thing, May 16th, 2023 is when you can expect the release of Season 1 on DVD. There's an Amazon listing as well as a Walmart listing for the DVD. So look for that to be available. We have a news story came out over the past couple of weeks talking about G2 and how actor Jason Jensen posted some behind-the-scenes footage of Optimus Prime with Tommy Kennedy. And this was kind of interesting to see because there's really not a lot of information out there about G2 because it was
This isn't G2. This is actually the G1 cartoon Season 5. Which was just repackaged G1 episodes.
It was called G2 with the Cybertron space cube.
No, this is not. That's not this.
It's not.
No, this was G1 Season 5, which was just it was reruns, but with these bumpers with Tommy Kennedy and a Power Master Optimus Prime. This is not G2. G2 was in the early 90s. This is G1 with no new content,
I
no
thought
new cartoons.
G2 was repackaged G1 episodes.
That was repackaged G1 episodes, but it was with the Cybernet Space Cube. It was not with Tommy Kennedy.
I'm so confused. So the exact same thing? So they were the exact same thing with different bumpers?
Yes. They continued rerunning Transformers, the original G1 cartoon, Season 4 was the last season with new episodes. It was the 3 episodes, it was Rebirth, that was it. But they continued rerunning it on in the afternoons, in syndication, and they just put these bumpers on it. And they repackaged the movie, the 86 movie with these bumpers and a bunch of other episodes. But it was still part of the G1 cartoon airing. It was not G2 yet. I watched it. I was there. I watched it live when I was there.
I believe you. You were in your 20s. All right, I believe you. Moving on.
How freaky is that? Looking at puppeteer inside Optimus Prime's eyes.
It's very cool to see these behind the scenes. I'm really thankful to Jason Jansen for putting this up and making it available to everyone.
Yeah, it's cool to see this stuff because, like I said, you don't get a lot from this era. Next up, we've got some Rise of the Beast stuff. So we mentioned how Rise of the Beast was the marketing machine was in full swing at this point because the Dungeons and Dragons movie is over, or not over, but it's out, and now it's time for Rise of the Beast to kind of get kicking. And now we've got Rise of the Beast stickers on Instagram, and there's a whole little video you can watch that'll show you how, the 3 or 4, I think it's 4 different stickers that you can get on Instagram. I don't know how to use Instagram stickers. That's how old I am.
I think if you're recording a video, you can add it on top of the video and stuff.
Okay. Cool.
Ask your daughter.
She doesn't have Instagram.
Oh.
But
I think
sure
Instagram is for old people now too. I think the kids are on TikTok. The kids are all on TikTok.
Snapchat. That's what she uses. Oh. Snapchat. Yeah. But yeah, you're probably right. TikTok. Anyway, so that's a thing that's out there. We've got next up. We've got official Transformers Beast Awakening, which is the Japanese name for Rise of the Beasts. Sticker sheet is being given away in Japan. So if you're going to see the movie in Japan, and you should be able to get a sticker sheet when you see the movie.
Real stickers.
Real stickers. So yeah, this is something that we likely over here in North America won't be able to get, and likely after today's recording and this actual podcast episode, nobody will care about anymore. So, but this is news, so that's what we're talking about it. Next up, Transformers: Rise of the Beast Mirage promotional poster. And this one is it's
French.
It's from France.
Yeah. So it's just showing Mirage with the Stephen Capel. No, it's not. That's the director. What's the guy's name? I can't.
This is the French voice actor for Mirage. This is Mr.
Oh, is it
Mr. V? Yes. So it's not what's his face.
I thought it was
the Saturday
guy
Night Live guy.
Oh, right. No. I thought it was the actor that's in the movie.
Oh no, that's they photoshopped in the voice actor for the French version of the movie to be sitting on his shoulder. So it's not Pete Davidson.
No. Right on. No, I didn't think it was Pete Davidson. I thought it was the guy that's actually in the movie. And I'm totally spacing on his name right now.
Oh, Anthony Ramos.
Yeah, Anthony Ramos. Yeah, him. So, yeah. But now that I look closer, he does not look like Anthony Ramos at all. So. But anyway, there's a poster out there with Mirage and some Photoshop job. Next up, there's a different poster. This is a theatrical poster, but it's a possible theatrical poster because apparently nobody's seen it at a theater yet. And it's just for the movie. It's got Optimus facing off against Primal and the words "Unite or Fall" in between them all, or between them both. The story does say it's very similar to the 07 poster, where it's Optimus and Megatron. Yeah. Next up, Optimus Prime went to Coachella, and Prime was there to announce the a friend of his, Toby Wigway, and we got a little clip on it here, but I'm not sure if you can play it. You won't be able to get any sound out there, but I don't. Yeah. You can he does say. He says, Coachella, this is Optimus Prime, leader of the Autobots. Please welcome to the stage my friend Toby Wigway. Roll out. And then he disappears. So yeah. We don't know if Toby Wigway is part of anything in the movie.
Well, but he's part of the cast. Well, we don't know anything else.
Gotcha.
Wasn't he Cheetor, or am I misremembering that?
I think he was named.
Oh, is he Cheetor?
A couple weeks ago.
Okay, cool. Right on. So hard keeping all these names straight. Next up, if you're in Australia, then a little bit of bad news. The movie has been delayed 2 weeks. And that is, what is it? They did not disclose, Paramount did not disclose the reason why the delay. But unfortunately, it is going to be a little bit delayed. So you can look to get it on June 22nd. New Zealand is also subject to this delay, and so you will also be getting it on June 22nd as well. It's too bad. I don't know. I don't know why they would have the delay like that, but must be something. All right. Next up, Transformers: Rise of the Beast special night at CinemaCon 2023. It says here that CinemaCon is being held in Las Vegas, and it starts. Well, it'll be over by the time that you hear this, but it's at Caesar's Palace, and Paramount will have a special night event for only Transformers: Rise of the Beast, and it'll be on Wednesday, April 26th. Man, wouldn't that have been awesome if I was in Las Vegas during this and I could have gone? That would have been amazing. But yeah, if you are in Las Vegas on Wednesday, April 26th, go to this.
Well, you can't unless you are part of CinemaCon, which is probably heavily restricted into who can go to this.
And you also need time travel since this show is going up after the event is over.
Right. And the last thing that I've got for us is that we're getting a new trailer, and the newest trailer for Rise of the Beast is airing on Thursday, April 27th. And you will have already seen it by the time that this show comes out. And we are planning to do a reaction video to that. So hopefully the reaction video will be out either the night of the trailer or the day after, so the day that this comes out. But we're planning to do something because that's what we do now. We do reaction videos.
Well,
we did one video 4 months ago, Daryl. Calm down.
But yeah.
And it did really well on our YouTube channel.
Hey, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining.
It's a movie year. We got to do what we got to do. Okay.
That's right. That's right. We won't do lists. We won't do lists of anything because that's too low, but we do reaction videos.
Yeah. One step higher. We're fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I've got for media news, but I'm going to throw it over to Jeremy because there was an interview this past week that happened, and I didn't read it. I didn't care to read it. It was BS for me, but Jeremy thought it was worth his time, so I'm going to throw it to Jeremy.
We now have actual news about the new animated movie from a reputable website. Because Daryl, you remember a couple weeks ago we talked about the High Moon name news from some website that was the only one reporting it.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah. So this is
Although
from
a couple sites
collider.com.
picked it up. A couple sites picked it up after that, which I thought was kind of shady.
And I don't trust it. But this is from collider.com. They're a legitimate movie news site, and they spoke with Lorenzo di Bonaventura, who is the producer of all the Transformers stuff.
That's the source I don't trust.
Well, what are you going to do? He's got the rights to the movies. So they talked about, I think this was originally talking about the live action stuff, but they talked to him about the animated film coming up. And since all we have is that Josh Cooley is directing it, he's the director of Toy Story 4. That's it. We have nothing else. So, in this interview, Lorenzo di Bonaventura was asked about it, and he basically went into the rough plot of the film. It's going to be animated by ILM, so that gives me high hopes. And he was asked directly, are fans going to see Cybertron in the film? And he said, yes, it's going to be an origin story of all Transformers. So that I'm worried about how that can go, because we've seen that in the past. But he said it's going to explore the origins of not just Optimus Prime and Megatron, but just the origin of all Transformers. So I'm suspecting we're going to get, the whole Prime's mythos, get that on the big screen, which, I mean, it could look really cool. We've only ever seen that in print and I guess a little bit on screen. Like, I know the Machinima stuff kind of went into it, and can't remember, did the Netflix stuff? It didn't really that much. So he was also asked if he could tease anything, and he said that they debated about doing a lot of this in live action, but they just, because of finances, they did it in animation. Basically, it's the origin story of a young Megatron and a young Optimus. If you know the origin, they started as friends, and over time, things devolved for them, and they ended up on two sides. So we're telling the young Optimus and young Megatron story. We're really telling the origin story of all Transformers, both what they were at the beginning of it, to how they grow apart. So that was the quote. And he sees a natural trilogy around the Optimus Megatron relationship, but they're only right now committed to the one movie. But I'm really optimistic. Here it also says he compared it to Krypton in that, like, you see the origins of the society and how it's falling apart. And I mean, if you know anything about the Superman mythos, by the time the planet blew up, the society had really devolved from its like prime. But he says that the entire timeline of the movie is on Cybertron. So he's going to talk about the society, how it's the common man doesn't have a voice. So I mean, this sounds really good to me. We'll see how it is in practice, but I mean, what do you guys think? This.
I mean, this sounds really like all the themes we saw in the IDW comics being brought to life. I mean, I guess my fear is that this will be too much for the normies. Like if it takes itself too seriously, people will go and be like, I wanted to see transforming robots smashing each other. I didn't want like a actual like political intrigue thriller with giant robots. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea what the tone of this movie will be, but that's something that I would love to see. I just don't know if the wider audiences will be interested in that. So that's my fear, but maybe I should just be confident that it'll be something fun.
Yeah. Well, Daryl, I mean, what are your thoughts? Like, ILM did the animation parts of Bumblebee, which looks fantastic. What are your thoughts on this?
So it's supposed to look like the animated parts of Bumblebee. Is that what we're kind of getting from this?
Doing the animation. But
so they've
done the live action movies up until Rise of the Beast, but specifically they did the animated parts of Bumblebee that we were all in love with.
Right. Yeah, but we're not entirely sure what type of animation they're doing.
Right.
Right.
But you tweeted with Josh Cooley a couple of years ago, so maybe he listened to you.
Besties.
Yeah. I want to, like, I'm very, very optimistic about this movie. This one, much more optimistic than I am about Rise of the Beast. Like, this one needs to be good, and if the Rise of the Beast isn't, then it can just kind of file it under like the live action movies suck, and that's just the way it is, right? The animated movie, you know, it has to be set to this standard of, you know, the Transformers animated movies are just top tier, but the problem that I see is something you touched on, Charles, is that they're going to try and fit it into this world they've created, this Bayverse kind of, you know, Knight and Cable Jr. verse that's kind of happening now, and it's really, I think, should be its own thing.
Yeah.
Right? They're kind of trying to slot it in here and saying, okay, well, this is the story, the origin story of Optimus and Megatron. And I mean, we've been in this for a long time, and everyone listening to this podcast has likely heard this story a half dozen times. The story of Optimus and Megatron at the beginning, it's been told so many different ways. Okay. But the normies, like you said, Charles, don't know this story. So they're going to get it for the first time. And which version or which parts of each version could they pluck from or make up a brand new one, which seems ridiculous, but they could they use to actually, you know, make the best origin story for Optimus and Megatron? There are some really good ones out there, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, frankly, I think, you know, the one from the IDW comics is probably too heady. You know, it's too complex, but it's very good, right? It's very, very good. It's just, there's too much involved with it, especially for an hour and a half or, you know,
well, I mean, if
2 hour movie.
At leading into a trilogy, there's a lot there that then they could like leave on a cliffhanger.
They could. They totally could, right? It's just, I think that if you're going to spend an hour and a half to 2 hours in a movie theater, you don't want to have to, you don't want to have to spend a good chunk of that trying to devolve like break down the politics of a different planet, and so they'll have to simplify it, and some of those storylines from More Than Meets the Eye are not, and more than likely, I mean, like More Than Meets the Eye and Robots in Disguise were really great comics, but they weren't. If you tried to simplify them, you really couldn't because you'd miss so much. So they'd have to go with something easier, and there are a bunch of different ones. I mean, the books, those Irving, I think his name. The Align Continuity version. The Align Continuity books. They were some really good ones, but again, they were also very complex.
I mean, even if you take some of the themes brought up in Transformers Prime and just kind of took those themes and did it, I mean, I thought that showed the relationship between like Orion Pax and Megatron and.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's probably because that kind of core story has been what's been presented in like the majority of the animated shows going forward. Like that started in the Align Continuity with Transformers Prime, and the video games and the books, they all kind of told the same story. Then you have with Cyberverse, you had a similar version of that story, and even with the Netflix show, it was alluded to. They didn't have a flashback or anything, but they talked about like what the origins of the war a little bit. And I think that core story is pretty simple. It's like Megatron and Optimus or Orion Pax were both kind of they were working for it to change Cybertronian society because the leaders, it was a very kind of caste system structured society where people on the bottom didn't have a voice or power. So Optimus or Orion and Megatron were working together to change that. Then Megatron says, well, no, we need a violent revolution. And Orion says, no, we need to do it peacefully. Megatron says, we're going to be violent. So let's violence it up. Orion says, no, and he has to violence it up anyway because he has to fight Megatron, and that's where we go. So if I think it's probably some version of that with like other details thrown in, but I mean I think that's that the core of that, as Megatron being the dissatisfied revolutionary who is not satisfied with peaceful change and wants a violent revolution. And also, as part of that, he's got a little bit of an ego, and he says, I'm the only one who can really bring about the change we need. So of course I need to be in charge of everything. So I'll become a dictator, and there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, my big hope is that it's not tied into any of the live action stuff and it just stands on its own and can become its own like animated universe of stories.
Mm. It's been announced that it's Optimus and Megatron are friends at the beginning, right?
Yeah, like, that's what you just said here.
Yeah, that's so. So that essentially cancels out any of the minor Megatron, them not really knowing each other until they kind of have to deal with each other on the on the battlefield. So it points a lot more towards that aligned continuity origin, and that's fine. It was a good one, right? But
if it can be done well without a lot of the hangups that they ran into the first time.
Yeah. I personally, I don't want to see Megatron and Optimus be brothers, right? But I mean, brothers in arms, maybe. Like I agree with, and that's something that I said earlier. These, I fear as though Lorenzo is going to try and make this all fit in the current storyline, even though they've tried to step back from these being in any kind of continuity. Like the Bay movies are their own thing, and then the Travis Knight's movies the start of something else, even though it was a soft reboot. I don't know, but I'd really like them to like what you said, just to do this thing on its own, and then everything else kind of fits in. If they try to fit plot points in here and there to say, okay, well, this is this way because of what happened in like Transformers 4, and I'm like, no, don't do that. That's a wasted line in the movie. I
think we're already past that, because at least even in the Bumblebee movie and presumably in Rise of the Beast, there's like no mention of the Allspark. So it seems like we're already kind of going away from any plot points from the Bay movies. I mean, I agree with you, Daryl. I would rather they kind of just ignore the Bay movies entirely and do something different. I mean, I think, and even the Bay movies kind of ignored the previous iterations of there was no continuity. Continuity was not respected at all in the Bay movies anyway.
No.
So, I think it's fine to throw out, and it's a prequel, so you don't even have to worry about continuity. You're at the beginning. So, but yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I would appreciate them just telling kind of a completely basic story and not worrying about how it fits into the larger live action movie universe, because that ultimately doesn't matter.
Yeah. The one other thing I worry about with the animation is when you get to animation similar to what we saw in the Bumblebee movie, which honestly I like that more than the 2D stuff. As I mature, I much rather prefer that. But the 2D stuff allows for a lot more characters, and it's cheaper to do. And I realize that this is a big budget movie, and it's theatrical, but so they're going to have a lot more money to work with. But I still feel that they're going to be limited to like 10 characters, and Transformers is a really huge ensemble,
Right.
And I think that
if you want to feel like Cybertron hasn't really evolved yet, you want it to feel alive and have a lot of people.
Exactly. And if that's the origin story, and you've got the golden age or whatever the hell they're when they're going to set this thing, whether that's even what they're going to call it, Cybertron needs to be just swimming with characters, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'd love to know what kind of animation they're using, but it's going to be tough if they're going to go CGI kind of a deal like they did in Bumblebee. It'll be tough to produce enough characters for that.
I think there are tricks they can do. I mean, there definitely will be multiple body types that are repeating over and over again. So I think I would trust that ILM knows what they're doing in generating large crowds of characters. But I mean,
they can't all be stormtroopers.
But I mean, we do. I mean, I don't know who worked on the movie. Like, it was almost 20 years ago. That movie Robots. I mean, that was set on a robotic world with all different characters. I mean, it's been done before, so I think this can work. I mean, where you can have it feel not like it's a planet of 10 people. I hope it's a planet of billions of living robots.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But we'll see.
The last thing I want to say on it is I'm really hoping that they do get a younger voice for Optimus Prime.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all love Peter Cullen, but he's definitely sounding like an older Prime every time we hear him. Mm-hmm. And it might, if they're doing the origin story, just have him like voice Primus at the beginning, and then start off with a younger voice actor for this version of Optimus Prime. But they're going to go with Peter Cullen for Optimus.
Maybe they have the younger version, and then at the end of the movie he gets the Matrix, and then Peter Cullen gives his last 2 lines or something.
Maybe.
One other thing when reading through this interview, I thought was funny. Like, Lorenzo di Bonaventura is the producer on the movie, and at one point when he's interviewing, he's like, "Oh, I'm not sure I should be telling you this, but Industrial Light and Magic is doing the movie. I don't know if I'm even allowed to say that." You're the producer on the movie. This is clearly a calculated interview to get hype for your movie. I don't believe that you're like giving us an inside scoop. You're doing this on purpose because you want to hype up your movie that you're making.
Yeah. You leak it to like Hollywood Reporter if you aren't supposed to talk about it.
This is like in the Simpsons episode where Bart's like he's admitting he has to admit that he skipped school, and then Skinner's like, I knew you'd slipped up, and Apu's like, what slip up? He admitted it. That's all. Rant over. So that's our discussion of media news. So let's move on to some transforming pop culture. Okay, well, in Hong Kong, they have opened a brand new Transformers-themed restaurant called the Ark. And look at all the awesome fast food you can get. You got Ark fries, the fry cups in the shape of the Ark. You've got Autobot symbol burgers. You've got Bumblebee chicken nuggets, and it looks really cool. Looks like they went all out for this Transformers experience in Hong Kong. It's a really cool idea. The food looks a little lackluster. I mean, it's very basic fast food that they're showing here, but I appreciate like there's a like a minute commercial on YouTube for this place that is in English, and a significant portion of the commercial just focuses on the like close-ups of the food and how like they make the Autobot burgers and how the chicken is just so delicious. It's very weird how much the commercials focus on the food, where, to be honest, I don't think the food is the draw here for Transformers fans. It's pretty basic fast food stuff, but it is a cool idea. I mean, I would love to have something like this in the U.S. Maybe at Universal or somewhere they'll put a version of this, but it's really cool. It's the Ark. Of course, Bumblebee and Optimus Prime are prominently featured here. I hope there's other Transformers featured. I hope there's some Decepticons featured in there. But yeah, this looks pretty cool. Any chance, Daryl? Any chance work will take you to Hong Kong so you can check this out?
No chance in that. Zero. But I like the idea that we crashed into a mountain so you can get some fries.
Well, it's not necessarily the G1 origin. It's just the it's just the Ark landed on Earth and set up shop in Hong Kong. While it's mining the Energon there, they decide let's do a fast food joint while we're mining Energon and refueling the ship.
Yeah,
you can even get it looks like you can even get a veggie Autobot burger. How about that?
A seaweed cod fillet, crab meat avocado, black truffle Angus cheese, crispy chicken.
Delicious.
Should do some conversion on these prices. Find out what they are.
Yeah, I did see on Twitter. I didn't see the pictures here, but the restroom sign has. I'm not sure who the male Autobot is, but the female Autobot was clearly Windblade.
Oh,
so and I think I saw her silhouette in the video.
Cool. Yeah.
This is fun. I really hope something like Universal gets this, because that would be the perfect place for it, and they would rack up the money on these themed buns.
Yeah, give us some Decepticon buns though too.
Yeah, well, maybe burgers, Charles.
Maybe I guess we need a Nemesis. We need another franchise of the Nemesis. Everything Decepticon themed. Yeah, this was very cool getting to see this. I mean, this had been announced a while ago, but finally seeing it open and really like how much effort they put into making it really look like the Ark and the interior, the colors with Teletran 1, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the theming of the actual building and stuff looks amazing. That's better than Universal in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially, I mean, look at the ceiling. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Doesn't look overly big.
It looked like I saw a sign for an upstairs too. So,
okay. It's 2 floors. Yeah, it is 2 floors. So, pretty interesting. And that Optimus Prime statue there, and then of course, then there's a shop where you can probably get lots of recent Transformers releases. Probably overpriced.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, there's the stuff.
Yep. Okay, well, that's transforming pop culture. So let's finish up the show with some convention news.
All right. We have first, we're going to TFCon Toronto in July. They have announced that Jack Lawrence is going to be there. He's a comic book artist on Lost Light and most recently Transformers Tread and Circuits, the last Wreckers book for IDW. And I think we all enjoyed that. And so it'll be good seeing him in Toronto. And then over at TF Nation in August, they've announced that Stephen Baskerville is going to be there. He was an artist on the original Marvel run, Regeneration 1, Drift Empire of Stone, and he's done work for G.I. Joe in 2000 AD. So it'll be nice seeing him there. And then back over here in Orlando in October for TFCon, they have announced that the voice of Bumblebee, Dan Gilvezan, is going to be there. So Dan is always a great person to meet at these things. So wish I could head to Orlando in October, but yeah. But anyway, that's all we got in convention news. Looking forward to getting to Toronto myself, so it'll be fun.
And that will take us to the end of this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. Of course, at the end of every episode, we give a shout out to our Masterpiece Donatrons. These are the folks who continue to support the podcast at our highest level on Patreon, and that's why we give them a recognition in every episode. So thank you once again to John Forks Levengood and Demon Tech 82. You guys rock. You're awesome, and we really appreciate you. And we appreciate everyone else who watches and listens to the show. Thank you again for hanging out with us, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Later.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Transmissions. If you'd like to join the conversation, travel to our Discord channel at transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. Want some cool transmission swag? Feast your eyes on our transmissions gear at transmissionspodcast.com/shop. If you'd like to support our podcast, go to transmissionspodcast.com/support or tell your friends about our show. We'll see you next time.